Hello again. Are you ready for part two of the beginning of Rome? I knew you were. So here we go. I hope you watched part one first so you could find out a little bit about the backstory of Romulus and Remus. And now we are moving on to Rome is founded. Uh, Rome is founded and it's filled with a bunch of guys. Yep. So what are they going to do? Well, there is a plan. And it's a good one, too. What do the men decide to do? They are going to host a party. Of course, that's what they're going to do. Well, actually, first, Romulus sends some top advisors to a neighboring village, the Sabines, and he says, "Hey, we should join together. We should work together. Uh, we'd really like permission to join forces and do some things together, in the hopes that they could start to meet some of the girls in the neighboring village and invite them over." And the Sabines want none of that. Why do they want none of that? Because they're already concerned that Rome's power is growing. They're already quite strong for being such a young village. They're not a nation yet. They're more of a city, a village, uh, not really a kingdom, but getting there. And they're kind of nervous. So they say, no, we don't want anything to do with you. Okay, sounds good. So Romulus decides, well, we're going to have a giant celebration. We're going to get that Circus Maximus going, have a big party, have lots of games and events, and we're going to invite everybody. Everybody. We're going to invite the Sabines. We're going to invite some other villages. We're going to invite everybody to this party. And everyone was invited. Men and women and children, everyone was invited. They get invited to this party, and while the Sabines are distracted, happily celebrating the competition and the games, while this is going on, the Romans are distracted, or the Sabines are distracted, and the Romans kidnap and abduct all the women, all the Sabinian women. They pick them up, they carry them out of the Circus Maximus, they lock down the Circus Maximus, and they kill most of the people still in the Circus Maximus who are the Sabines. They take the women, they say, all right, welcome to Rome, you're ours. And most of the people in the Circus Maximus, the rest of the people there, are killed. This does not go over well. This does not go over well at all. Sabines absolutely start up a war with Rome. They go to war with Rome and they lose the first battle, which is a bummer for them. They head back, they regroup, and their incredible king, King Titus Tatius, comes back to Rome and organizes a surprise attack on the Capitoline Citadel. Citadel, by the way, means hill, and Capitoline means capital. Their government of Rome is on Capitol Hill. Connection, just like the government for the US is on Capitol Hill in America, in Washington. Pretty cool, huh? We're going to be making a lot of connections this year to the Roman government and the American government. We borrowed a lot of ideas from Rome because they worked really well. But back to our story. So King Titus Tatius organizes a surprise attack on Capitoline Citadel where the government is ruling and ends up killing a lot of Romans. How does this sneaky attack work, though? Well, it has a lot to do with the Citadel's commanding officer's daughter, Tarpeia. She helps a lot with this little plot. She sneaks out one night, finds out that the Sabinians have camped out just outside the city walls. And she sneaks out and meets with the officers. And she says, guys, look, I'm going to offer you a deal. I know you want to take Rome, and I'm not too pleased with this whole situation. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. So here's what I'm going to do. You're going to come in the middle of the night, right as morning hits, and I'm going to let you in the back door. I'm going to make sure the guards are gone, and I'm going to open the door for you. But this is what I want from you. I want you, as you walk by, you and all your men, you're going to give me everything that you hold on your left arms. Because your left arm was typically where you'd have your wedding ring or some sort of bracelet or some sort of jewelry or other ornamental piece of jewelry or gold. And she thought this was going to be a brilliant idea because, well, the men were going to come in with their swords with their right hand and they were going to slip her a ring or some jewelry, or they could take their necklaces off or whatever they had and hand her all of their riches with their left arm, and they'd sneak in and have the attack. But she wasn't really thinking this all the way through. So, of course, the Sabinian king agrees to this, thinks this is a fantastic idea, and early morning, she lets in the army, expecting riches and gold beyond her wildest dreams. But what does she get? Well, if you're carrying a sword in your right hand, what are you carrying in your left? Shields. Nothing but shields. And so as she opens the door and the army starts marching in, she is trampled and crushed to death by the shields of the Sabinian army as they march in and try to take over Rome. Now, it doesn't work. Obviously, there were some people who knew about what was going to happen. The Romans were prepared, and the Sabinian army was kicked out of Rome quite briskly, quite quickly. Tarpeia's body is then taken up on top of a cliff on the Capitoline Hill and tossed off of it as a show to the rest of Rome that says this is what happens when you are a traitor to Rome. And in her honor, they named the rock after her. This is, ladies and gentlemen, Tarpeian Rock, and becomes the official execution location in Rome for all of Rome's greatest traitors and criminals. They pretty much throw everyone who has been a traitor to Rome off this rock. And there it is in modern times. It's still there. So what happens next? Well, now we are still talking about Rome's first war. This is not a battle anymore. Now it's an actual war. Now it's continuing for a bit. Titus Tatius continues to battle with the Romans. First they go to Rome, then the Romans go back to Sabinian camp. And after a while, the Sabinians with Titus Tatius are starting to win. Their battles are getting a lot more one-sided, and the Sabinians look like they might be taking it. So what does Romulus do? He prays to his favorite god, which is Jupiter, who is the king of the gods, and for Rome. And Jupiter gets in contact with Janus. Janus is this fantastic god right up here, with, yes, a front and a back head. Janus is the god of time, god of beginnings, of endings, of doorways, bridges, being able to walk through and start something new. And Janus thinks that Rome absolutely should have a chance to start something new and start this awesome empire that Janus can see into the future and see what's about to come. So he says, yes, I must help out so that Rome can have a glorious beginning. And while the Sabinians are rushing Rome and attacking the city one day, Janus opens up the earth and lets in molten rock to superheat all of the Roman baths. And as Sabinians are falling into the Roman baths during their battles, they're being boiled by the incredibly hot water from the hot springs. And therefore, Janus helps out the Romans in a big way. He helps out with some earthquakes and some volcanic action, and the earth shakes. Men are falling into public baths and being severely burned by the water there. And the Sabinians cannot recover, and they leave Rome. So Rome is saved again, thankfully by Janus and Jupiter. And if these names start sounding familiar, like, oh, I've heard of Jupiter before, I should hope so. It's one of our planets. We will be talking about all the connections that the Roman gods have as well. But not right now. Right now, we're still on. Rome is still battling Sabinians. How do we do this? How do they win this battle? Because obviously they do. Well, here it is. So the Romans and Sabinians regroup their losses and spend a day recovering. And on that day recovering, they make one more plan. They pull everyone together. They say, all right, here it goes. We've got to figure this out. What are we going to do? We've got to win this war. And the Roman women, who used to be Sabinians and now are wives and daughters of the Romans, have had enough, because many of their fathers or their grandfathers are Sabinians, and now their husbands are Romans, and all they're doing is watching this battle happen, and everyone's dying and everyone's getting injured, and they're watching both sides of their family in this war, and it breaks their hearts. So in the morning, as the battle is about to commence, the women from Rome and Sabinia march out onto the battlefield and stand in the middle of the battlefield and put their hands up and say, halt! They say, if you've decided that you are going to continue this battle, you can start with us. We are going to stand here because we would rather die than see our brothers, our uncles, our husbands, our grandfathers, our fathers kill each other in this senseless battle, in this senseless war. And they stood there, children in their arms, looking at both sides of the battlefield, saying, this is a senseless war. We can live together. And the battle's halted. And they stop it. Romulus and Titus Tatius pause and forget their differences for right now and decide that the women are right. We can learn to do this together. So they compromise. They continue to rule as co-rulers side by side for the next 5 years. And they take both of their kingdoms, put them together, and continue to build their empire. They compromised on pretty much everything. They agreed to believe in all of their gods. It wasn't just you versus us. They incorporated everybody into their belief system. They combined their two calendars that they had differences on, and they put them together and said, let's do parts of yours and parts of ours to make one new calendar. They did the same with military tactics. They said, oh, this works really well for you. This works really well for us. Let's do both. They incorporated everything together. They took laws that both sides agreed on and put them together and created one governing system. And they found a way to make it work. Well, what now? 5 years in, Titus Tatius was unfortunately killed on his way to a peaceful mission to a temple. We aren't sure the exact details of that. More than likely, it was from someone in the Senate who did not agree with his ruling strategies. And then Romulus continued to run the empire for the next 20 years. So what happened to Romulus? Well, there aren't exactly specific details, but some people believe that there was a powerful storm that ended up killing him, or that he was taken directly from Rome right up to the heavens to spend time with Jupiter. Others believe that he was killed by more angry senators who did not approve of his new ideas. Either way, He died at the age of 55 in 717 BCE. And then Rome takes another interesting turn. What happens to Rome next? Well, guess what? You're going to have to wait one more day as we move forward in the story of Rome. So, you liking the journey so far? You're going to be taking some time and learning a little bit more about moving forward in Rome, what happens next, some Roman symbols, and hey, even how to count in Rome or in Roman. And then we're going to touch base later on about some of those names that you heard before: Mars, Jupiter, Janus. It's all going to come back as we move forward. We're going to learn a little bit more about how we can connect to those names as we continue our adventure through Rome. So thank you so much for listening in, and can't wait to see you all tomorrow. Woot woot! Go Rome! Go Rome!